Hello and welcome to Kitchen Door Workshop, the home of replacement kitchen doors since 1996. In this video we're going to look at how to use our handle drilling jig to mark the holes for drilling and fitting your handles. So the first thing we're going to want to do is to actually set up the handle drilling jig to line up with the holes on the handles that we're planning to use. Now if I hold this handle against the jig here, you can see it's the first hole and the fourth hole, and that's marked as being a 96mm hole center. So the first hole and the last hole, the first hole and the fourth hole corresponds with a 96mm hole center of this particular handle. Now what we're going to do is to drill out the first and the fourth hole. Okay, so I've drilled out the two holes with a 3mm drill bit, and we're now ready to start thinking about where we're going to position the handle. Now on a base unit door, which is the handle's going to be mounted towards the top of the door. I have seen customers mount the handle sort of halfway down the door, which means you're stooping down to a base unit door and you're struggling to reach a wall unit door. So I would suggest on a base unit door fitting them towards the top, and on a wall unit door fitting them towards the bottom. So I'm going to hold the handle roughly in the position where I think looks nice. I'm going to turn the handle to the side slightly, and I'm just going to mark a line showing where the top screw hole position is. The next thing I'm going to do is to measure down, and the position of that screw, the position of that first hole wants to be approximately 55mm from the top of the door. So the first hole is going to be 55mm from the top of the door. Now we want to get it central on the frame of the door here, and if I measure the width of the frame, it's about 90mm. So what I need to do now is just to set up the drilling jig to allow me to drill a hole 55mm from the top of the door, and halfway, being in the centre of the door frame, which is going to be 45mm from the edge of the door. So what I do now is you'll find there's a rule mark on here which is adjustable, and I'm setting from the top of the door 55mm and from the edge of the door 45mm. Now, if I simply rest the jig against the edge of the door like this, I can mark the top hole and the fourth hole down, and that will give me the position of the two holes I need for the handle. It does take a couple of minutes to set up the jig, but now I've got it set up, it's going to allow me to do all the other holes on all the other doors without having to take any more measurements, because to do a door of the opposite hand, I simply turn the jig round like that. To do a wall unit door, I turn it over like that, and then to do a wall unit door of the opposite hand, I turn it over like that. So once I've got it set up, I can actually do all the marking of the holes literally in a few minutes. So that's the door handle holes marked. Now we need to think about doing the holes for the drawers. Fixing the handle onto the drawer front is done in a similar way to doing it on the door, in that what we want to do is to firstly decide where we want the handle. In this instance, I want the handle halfway down from the top and central. Now, the height of this drawer front is 140mm. The jig only expands to 65mm, so it's not going to expand to the 70mm we want for marking the centre line. So what I'm going to do now is just to break the jig into two parts, and the reason I'm going to do that is the jig is still very useful for helping me to mark the handle position from the edge of the door. So what I'm going to do now is, using my set square, I'm just going to set that up to 70 millimeters. Here we go. I'm going to set that up to 70 millimeters and run it along the drawer front, the top of the drawer front, just marking a centre line which is halfway down the drawer front. Now we need to calculate how far the first hole is going to be in from the edge of the door. And the way that you do that is to measure the width of the drawer front. This one is 596. Deduct from 596, or deduct from the width of the drawer front, the hole centres of the handle, which we know on this handle are 96. So we take 596 minus 96, which is the hole centre of the handle. Then the answer, which is 500 mil, we divide by 2, which gives us an answer of 250 mil. So we know that the first hole wants to be 250 mil from the edge of the door. So what we do now is we set the jig to 250 mil. There we go. Spot on 250 mil. Offer it up to the edge of the drawer front. Look through the jig until we see the line that we've drawn, 70 mil from the top, and mark those holes. And you can see them just there and there. So those are the positions for the handle on the drawer front. Now we're ready to drill the hole in the drawer front and in the door. We're going to do that with a 5mm diameter drill bit. I'm going to stick some goggles on, set up the drill to do that. Now in drilling through, you always want to drill from the front through to the back, and the reason you want to do that is if your drill's up a bit or down a bit, it doesn't really matter, because the hole at the front, which is where it's important, is going to be in the right place. If you drill from the back to the front and your drill's not level, the holes could be all over the place. The second thing I want to say is, when I've drilled part the way through, I'm going to open the door and put a little block of wood behind, so that when the drill punctures the back of the door, it doesn't damage the back of the door too much. And I'm just going to do that now. Now I'm just going to clean the dust off here, and I'm also going to remove the pencil lines before I fit the handle. So having cleaned the pencil lines off the door and having just vacuumed away any dust, what we're going to do now is to fit the handles. Now if the handles that you purchase aren't supplied with screws, or if the screws that you have are not the right length, we do sell on the website some snap-off screws that can be just easily adjusted to length just by snapping to them to the size that you want. So all I'm going to do now is open the door and pass the screws from the back through to the front, and by hand just locate the screws into the handle, and then tighten them with a screwdriver from behind. So we've fitted the drawer handle, we've fitted the door handle, and I'm sure you'll agree that they look very, very good. They're level and they're in the right position. Now, having the handles level, having the handles fitted in the same position so they line up on every door is the difference between having a job that looks professionally done rather than something that's less than good. Using the handle hole drilling jig is one way of ensuring a professional finish, and it's a quick and accurate way of getting the handle holes in the right position. Hope you found this video useful, and if you have any unanswered questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call, drop us an email, and we'll be more than delighted to try and help you.